From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is U.S. Farm Report.
Welcome to U.S. Farm Report. I'm Tyne Morgan, and here's what we're working on for you over the next hour. It's a crisis in cotton country.
We just don't have a viable safety net that we once had.
Our Farm Journal report shows you the uphill battle West Texas cotton farmers face. We're off to the birthplace of one of America's most iconic Western songs.
What he was writing about, I think, was the sensations that he felt as he lived here.
We're taking you home on the range with Andrew McCrea in American Countryside. As more farmers get anxious to plant, we can't get enough weather right now.
And in the weather, we seem to be getting too much rain. We'll let you know if that changes or not this week and through the rest of May coming up.
And in John's world,
the food chain is changing, and it'll reach our link.
U.S. Farm Report, brought to you by the dependable, long-lasting Chevy Silverado.
For the market-related news, the April price rally brightening moods across farm country, but not completely changing farmers' outlooks this year. Purdue University teaming up with CME Group to gauge the health of U.S. agriculture via what's called the Ag Economy Barometer. It shows while farmers are seeing improved prices, many aren't optimistic the changes will significantly help them soon. The Ag Economy Barometer rose 21 points in April to 106. That rise fueled by higher crop prices and improved weather conditions. But 76% of those surveyed still expect the next 12 months to be a challenge financially. Meanwhile, CME Group confirming what our analysts have been telling us, the April rally enticing more trades and crop sales. CME says April 2016 volume averaged 13.8 million contracts. That's up 21% from April 2015. Soybean volume skyrocketing 80% over the same time last year, corn up 55%. Class 3 milk prices are at the lowest point in 5 years, averaging $13.63 in April, and little relief is in sight. Our partners at Farm Journal's Milk Magazine conducted a survey of large dairy operators. Nearly 40% said they can survive at current milk prices, but only for another year. 43% say they're carrying more debt than they did in 2009 when milk prices were low and feed prices were high. New numbers from the Commerce Department showing the U.S. trade deficit improving to $40.4 billion in March. That's nearly a 14% drop in just a month. The Commerce Department says imports fell by 3.6%. That's the largest amount since the recession in early 2009. That news overshadowing the fact exports also fell, but just by less than 1%. Weather woes in South America forcing analysts to further cut crop estimates, cautioning that damages could cut estimates even more. South American grain analyst Michael Cordonier lowered his soybean estimate in Argentina by 1 million tons to 56 million. He says it's possible that number could fall another 2 to 3 million due to poor quality seed. And with drought plaguing Brazil's corn crop, Cordonier has his corn estimate trimmed by 1 million to 78 million tons. More than 300 million acres are suffering from a relentless drought in India. That, coupled with a record-breaking heat wave, is slashing crop production in the western region. Officials say the drought is the worst in decades, but it's also years of accumulating debt, driving farmers out of business. Well, despite some weather delays here, planting progress is moving right along. USDA shows 45% of the nation's corn is in the ground, 15 points ahead of average. Major gains across the Corn Belt, except for Nebraska, where planting is 5 points behind average there. And 13% of the corn crop is emerged 5 points ahead of normal. As for beans, that crop is 2 points ahead of the average planting pace. All right, those are the headlines. Meteorologist Mike Hoffman joins us now with weather. Mike, another wet weather pattern stalled planting for some this week. So do we warm up or dry up anytime soon?
Thanks, Tyne. Well, it does turn warmer in the eastern portions of the Corn Belt anyway, but as far as dry weather, we're not going to see a whole lot of it. You can see on the drought monitor it's been turning drier parts of the southern portions of the Appalachians. It's actually gotten a little better out west. Now, let's go back 4 weeks, go back a month, and you can see the areas that were developing that we were concerned about over Kansas and Oklahoma because you folks were just missing things. Same thing over North Dakota. Watch what has happened Over the past 4 weeks, those areas have just been going away, but things have been getting a little worse there over the southern portions of the Appalachians. So let's go day by day this week. On Monday, fairly wet system for the middle of the country again. Central Plains, scattered showers and thunderstorms toward Texas and Louisiana, and along that front off toward the mid-Atlantic. Another system bringing rain and a few spots of mountain snow out toward the northwest. By Wednesday then, that first system moving through New England after already moving through the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley with more rain there, and you can see rain, even some snow in the northwest fringes. That'll all be in eastern Canada the way it looks. And then those areas of showers, maybe even spotty thunderstorms down into eastern Texas, Louisiana again. And the next system moving through the northern portions of the Rockies with some rain and a few spots of mountain snow. Now that system kind of comes eastward and we see a lingering area of low pressure. We've seen this pattern several times over the past few weeks with some rain across the northern plains into the mid-Atlantic, scattered showers and thunderstorms in the southeast, and yet another weaker cool front coming into the northern portions of the Rockies. Back in our next half hour with a longer range forecast.
Thanks, Mike. Well, from the drop in dairy prices to how the price rally could impact balance sheets this year, we'll discuss it in our roundtables with Mike North and Rich Nelson next.
U.S. Farm Report, brought to you by Case IH. Your cattle bring in the profits. Count on Case IH equipment to help you do everything else.
Thanks for coming today.
How you doing?
Well, today's going to be pretty easy. I want each of you to grab a 2x8 and cut it. You'll have 2 saws to choose from, a power saw or a hand saw. So which saw did you use?
Power saw. Power saw.
Power saw. You all chose the most powerful tool. Wouldn't it make sense to make the same choice when it comes to your truck?
Absolutely.
This is the 2016 Chevy Silverado. It offers the most powerful engine in its class.
Awesome. I'd say it's the best tool for the job. Right on.
Tommy, I'm a little disappointed. The yields weren't there and the prices are low. We need to sell at a good price. What do you advise?
Hi, it's Tommy Grisafi, and I would like to visit you at your farm to discuss strategies and risk management solutions that best fit your farm's interest. Call me at 855-737-FARM, and I will personally visit you at your farm. Experience solid market advice right on the farm.
Face it, you don't think a lot about your trailer hitch. You use it and forget it. We understand. But at B&W, we think about it. Short nights, long hauls, never-ending chores. The unthinkable. We think about it all, so you don't have to. B&W. Trusted.
Attention to everyone eligible for Medicare. The Affordable Care Act has added helpful new benefits to your Medicare coverage. You may not realize that there are a host of benefits you may be eligible for, including many useful preventative services that can make a difference in your health. Many benefits come with 0 copays and 0 deductibles. Don't miss out on the coverage you deserve. Call for free now or go to Medicare.com. There is no obligation.
Please call 800-920-6690.
Welcome back to U.S. Farm Report. This week on the Marketing Roundtables, we have Rich Nelson of Allendale and Mike North of Commodity Risk Management Group. All right, we started off with soybeans last week. We probably need to start off with it again this week. Mike, I'm going to start with you. We dipped below $10 overnight this week. Where do we go from here?
Well, soybeans have been the spark plug in this whole move, and the reality is sub $10 market attracted some new buying. Friday finished strong with a nice run on the Thursday break. And the reality is this is a market that really could go both ways. And ahead of a fairly critical USDA report next week, it's going to be very tough to create a new direction in the marketplace without that information.
And I know we had a couple things playing in soybeans' favor. I mean, we look at South American weather and we look at some of the fund action. Is there a chance, Rich, that the funds could jump in the corn market and spark a rally like we saw in soybeans?
There's always a chance. I think in this case, though, corn has quite a few headwinds against it right now, especially as we're ready to get this crop planted and get a huge 500 million bushel increase in production this year. We do, of course, have our problems with Brazil, which as of right now are not fixed, and there's actually no change in the forecast yet, which suggests a fix of that problem. However, with the massive U.S. supply ready to come online, I really can't see this market having any big rebound, at least on a fundamental basis here.
Yeah, Rich mentioned Brazil. They said they're going to start importing some corn. How bad is the situation there? And could that give these corn markets some life?
Well, they have had some stress, no question about that. And as we're heading into pollination, we definitely need to get that ongoing precipitation, cooler temperatures, which has been the bigger issue. And the reality is that that will be an ongoing story. But in the backdrop of that story, you have other things. Rich mentioned the big U.S. crop coming, and we've had a really good start on planting. A lot of continued progress in the fields now. You've got China, who cued us 2 months ago that they were going to be destocking themselves. You know, that story came out on Thursday, and we watched as people got a little bit afraid of new corn making its way to the marketplace. That's the kind of stuff that corn's going to have to continue to fight. It makes it really tough to see a soybean-like move.
Well, we have this supply and demand, and USDA report coming out next week. Do you think that we will see some adjustments based on the damage we've seen in areas like Argentina and Brazil? Will that show up in this next report?
Well, there's no doubt USDA will take a minor stair-step approach towards this whole issue with South America. So in other words, we're not going to see them drop from 84 million tons on Brazilian corn down to 78. It's probably something maybe 81 or so, at least for this step right now. And we'll see certainly a lot of change regarding that maybe in future months. As the U.S. season kind of evens out after planting, we'll probably see a little more focus on the U.S. side here, certainly.
Mike, I see you shaking your head. Yes, you agree with Rich. But is that already priced into the market at this point? Or does that help prices next week? Could we get a little rally?
Well, I think it brings confirmation to the fact, right? USDA didn't chase the crops on the way up when they were getting bigger in everybody's eyes, and they're not going to chase them on the way down either. So they'll take a more conservative approach to arriving at their final number. Bottom line is I agree with Rich in the fact that we likely will see a metered approach in working towards a smaller number. But the reality of that is now we get a look at the U.S. balance sheet to now bring a little bit of a two-continent balance to the discussion. We aren't going to just be focused on South America. Now everybody's going to have to come back and say, look at all of these numbers that we're going to be producing in 2016 right here in the homeland.
What are some of Allendale's projections and estimates ahead of this report next week, Rich?
No, for ourselves, number one, we actually have a smaller supply than what USDA is going to show here next week. Number one issue is we have a smaller trend yield. 165 is our starting point considering normal weather instead of 168, which is USDA's current number here. So USDA is going to use that, a very big number thrown at us here. As far as overall numbers, 14.1 billion bushel corn crop is what we're plugged in right now. That's over 500 million bushels in last year. In addition, looking at about 2.1 billion bushel ending stock. We're going to be a little smaller than what USDA is going to show here next week. They'll be in the high 2.2s, maybe into the 2.3 territory.
All right, well, what can you do to prepare for this report coming up next week? I'm going to ask Mike North next.
Get the roots your crops need by getting Radiate first. Visit lovelandproducts.com/radiate. See your CPS dealer today.
With the success of the Case IH Steiger Quad Track and Magnum Road Track tractors, it's no secret why Case IH is the leader of the track. So it wasn't surprising when the competition started imitating us. But only Case IH offers a 5-axle design to give you a smoother ride, more power to the ground, with less berming and compaction. Still, we're flattered. In fact, if we weren't already red, we'd be blushing.
You've committed to doing all you can to increase your yields and grow your bottom line. Like using Stratego Yield fungicide and its 2 modes of action for unbeatable control of the major foliar soybean diseases. You'll get an average yield increase of 3 to 4 bushels per acre. Healthier fields means higher yields. You're ready to profit from the season with Stratego Yield.
Once you cut a tree down, what do you do about the stump? Grind it down with a DR Stump Grinder, the fast, easy, and affordable solution for stump removal. Thanks to the power of a world-class engine and carbide-tipped cutting teeth, the DR Stump Grinder tackles any size stump. With each pass, these teeth quickly shave the stump down, taking a remarkable 360 bites per second. In no time, the stump is completely gone. All that's left behind is a pile of wood chips. Get behind the power of a DR stump grinder to rid your property of tree stumps forever.
Call 1-800-515-4765 for your free buyer's guide and DVD. Learn how you can try a DR stump grinder for 6 months. With our special financing plan, you can own a DR for as low as $42 a month. Plus, get free shipping if you call now. 1-800-515-4765. Online at drstumpgrinder.com.
All right, welcome back. Mike, we've been talking about possible scenarios coming up next week with USDA's report. How can producers prepare for that?
Well, the reality is the soybeans lead the charge in this recent run. They've maintained a strong price. We're sitting here at $10. If you haven't made sales on anything yet, that'd be the first place I'd start. We just made some moves into a really nice territory. That's a good opportunity to get some sales begun for the 2016 crop if you haven't already done that. And I think there's a time here to bring optionality into play. You can get some put options bought fairly reasonably still, considering all that's happened. Bottom line is prepare for a potential retraction in the marketplace, but leave the top side open in the event that we should see some news that really stirs things up. But this next report probably isn't the real big thing. It's going to be weather as we go down the road that really determines where soybeans make their next run.
Rich, considering we have seen this price move really in the soybean market, do you think that enticed an acreage shift? And does that change our balance sheets any in this USDA report?
It did shift things a little bit here. And here's the issue. Even with this massive change in price on the soybean side, we've only brought them maybe actually very close to corn revenue right now. So we actually haven't made that drastic of an adjustment once you look at revenue as a whole, including yield, which is very important, especially when you're making these arguments here. So as far as that goes, we do look for a moderate 750,000 acre change out of corn into soybeans on the June report here, but nothing that's going to change prices right now at least.
But Mike, you say in your area in Wisconsin, it was planting so nice that actually farmers ended up putting more corn in the ground.
We've talked to some clients that in fact did put a little bit more in the ground because it was going in so well, and that's anecdotal to a lot of other places in our client reach. The bottom line is we had a really nice big window for a good chunk of the Corn Belt, and as fast as it could go in the ground, it was, and they just picked up a few extra acres here and there. But to Rich's comments, there were some folks that made the decision in the price run to switch to beans, and I agree with them. I think close to 1 million acres will make that move.
Interesting. Okay, Rich, when we look at this dollar, it was helping prices, but we've seen a little bit of recovery in the U.S. dollar. Where do we go from here?
Despite this morning's problem with the unemployment numbers here, I think we got only 160,000 new jobs added in non-farm payrolls. As far as that goes, I don't really see any major issue as far as U.S. dollar that says we need to go down even further from here. I would actually suggest a mild recovery and therefore some mild pressure on grains here in the coming weeks as we see that change. Bottom line issue is, yes, we got some problems here in the U.S., low growth, not much going on as far as major increases for employment, but right now we're doing equal, if not better, than most of our competitors.
Mike, when we look at this dairy industry, we had a story earlier in the show. It is not a pretty picture right now when we look at prices at a 5-year low. Have we hit bottom, or do prices only move lower from here?
Likely prices will continue to soften. We've seen cheese prices move to the lowest levels they've been since 2010, just coming out of that hellish 2009 period. It's very difficult when we talk class 3 milk price specifically to make a run or even stabilize price when your core component of your pricing is reaching towards 6 years lows. Very, very difficult to do that indeed. Not to mention the fact that coming into this, we've carried some pretty decent equity, and most of the feed, especially in the Midwest, is bought and paid for and in the bunker, and there's really not going to be a change to that cash flow picture on the farm. So ultimately, production will continue, milk will be prolific, that will continue to add inventory and pressure price. It's a bad cycle.
So right now, the hurt isn't enough for them to cull some of those cows?
At this moment in time, we aren't seeing it. And March's report was very, very to that point. 10,000 cows added in the month of March. April, we're seeing continuation of that. We haven't gotten to the point of extreme pain yet where culling is happening.
Rich, what's the story in crude oil?
Bottom line, of course, with our problems with Canada up north, they got about a third of the production offline. The problem is this is not actually impacting the actual facilities themselves, mainly with workers, mainly in the towns around those areas. So with this whole issue on crude, we've got a minor problem with production. Of really important note, we're not actually rallying hard. So we look for only a minor increase in prices going into summer, maybe into that 48, 40, 49 range, but we don't look for any major rally right now at least.
All right, we want to get your closing thoughts, so we're going to do that when we come back. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on U.S. Farm Report.
U.S. Farm Report is brought to you by the BV Series round baler from Kubota. For Earth, for life.
A picture's worth 1,000 words. And today, there are more pictures being taken than ever before. That's why there are 1,000 reasons you should get a hair restoration with Bosley. Imagine feeling self-confident in your photos and loving what you see when your picture is posted online.
With the social networking craze that we have going on, I'm always taking photos. And prior to that, I would never take a photo because I didn't like the way they looked.
Bosley, the world's most experienced hair restoration expert. The results are natural, permanent, and life-changing.
This is my real hair. I can do with it whatever I want. This is mine.
Call or go to Bosley.com to receive your free guide to hair restoration. Plus, when you call right now, we'll send you $250 off. But here's even more exciting news. Bosley now features a breakthrough procedure that makes hair restoration easier than ever before. It's a revolution in restoration. With Bosley, you can have your own hair back. Get the picture?
Are you paying too much for your cable or satellite TV? The U.S. government passed a bill mandating free over-the-air digital transmission of all broadcast network television channels. That means with the new TV Freeway digital antenna, you can get free HD programming from your favorite broadcast networks 24/7 without a bill. You just plug it into the back of your TV and start watching all of your favorite broadcast programs for free. There are no contracts to sign, no hidden fees, and no monthly fees. Just free HD broadcast TV. Take it with you anywhere. Call or go online now to get your TV Freeway stick for the incredibly low price of only $14.99. But wait, call or click now and you can get a second TV Freeway stick for a second TV. Just pay a separate fee, but you have to order right now.
Call 1-800-316-1198 to get your TV Freeway. Call now or go to tvfreeway.com. So call 1-800-316-1198. Call now.
All right, welcome back. Time for closing thoughts. Rich, let's start with you.
Main issue right now, we've got a nice rally we've talked about here. We've finally seen it going on for many weeks. I'd certainly suggest it's time to take advantage of these high prices. Old crop, I'll be a little more aggressive than what most people will be right now. I'd rather have all old crop moved out right now, corn and soybeans, and maybe about half done as far as hedging on new crop actual production. So it's time to get aggressive here. We look for a mild break back down into June, maybe 40 cents lower for corn and about 60 to 80 for soybeans.
All right, thanks, Rich. Mike?
The biggest issue in our marketplace has been outside money. It came in very, very strongly. Outside money, non-traditional players causing big movement in price. It was a gift. Let's not look a gift horse in the mouth. Let's make sure that we're getting sales. To Rich's point, old crop needs to be moved. New crop should be getting addressed. And it's time at these plateaus to be getting some optionality, like I talked earlier about, in play. Get some coverage in place and be ready for summer as prices could go either way.
Really good advice. Thank you both for being here. Stay with us. John Phipps joins us next.
Receive a free trial of the Daily Market Letter and gain knowledge about current market conditions from the professionals at Bauer Trading. View the markets like never before. Go to BauerTrading.com.
The new DR trimmer mowers are here, and they're better than ever. The walk-behind DRs feature world-class engines and easy rolling wheels that let you trim along buildings, decks, and fence lines, mow tall grass and waist-high weeds without tangling, even cut brush up to 3 inches thick with optional cutting attachments. And now there's a full line of tow-behind DR trimmer mowers. Choose from models customized for riding mowers, ATVs, or compact tractors. So turn to DR and get the job done right.
Call 1-800-418-1409 for your free buyer's guide and DVD. We'll include details of our special 36-month financing plan that lets you own a DR for as low as $25 a month. Free shipping is now in effect, so call 1-800-418-1409. Online at drtrimmer.com.
DR is professional power done right.
Parasites will lose you more money than any other disease out there besides infertility. So, parasites is something that we have to control, and that's what VetGun does for us. It's tough out there on a ranch, but with the ease of the VetGun, it's a one-man operation, and whenever you can get one thing to work out great throughout that day, it just makes my life a little easier.
New in 2016, the Tomorrow's Top Producer Conference will span 2 days and be held in Nashville, Tennessee. Join us June 16th and 17th with speakers on topics including marketing, risk management, negotiation tips, and succession planning. This event will help young farmers master the skills needed to be successful in today's farming landscape. Speakers include Walt Coleman, NFL referee and Highland Dairy Controller, Mo Russell, Russell Consulting, Brent Olkey, Innovis Agra, and more. Visit tomorrowstopproducer.com for the full agenda and registration information.
Well, John was playing the waiting game earlier this week, just itching to plant his beans. So while he had some extra time, he decided to give us his thoughts on the food chain this week.
Two recent business developments caught the attention of many of us in agriculture. First, the retail giant Costco confirmed plans to not only build its own chicken processing plant, but source at least 1/3 of its chicken from its own farms. Second, the yogurt giant Dannon announced it will change the origination of its milk to 2 co-ops and a very few farms that have agreed to very strict production rules. These steps by retail food companies to control or even own every level of their supply chain is called vertical integration. While it's already common in the poultry industry, the expansion into dairy is relatively new. I think it's fair to say that such arrangements can accurately be labeled with the controversial term corporate agriculture. Regardless of the name, is this good news or bad? Certainly for some processors in the middle, like dairy cooperatives, it may be unsettling. I think most of us have seen the handwriting on the wall for livestock, especially poultry, where the vast majority of product is grown by contract with producers never owning any animals. This business strategy is clearly a response to consumer demands for accountability and, in my opinion, reluctance by producers to go along with what they consider are unneeded and even irrational rules. We have reached the point, however, where food is more than calories for a price to many consumers. While grain farmers cannot conceive of this trend reaching all the way back to the commodities we grow, it's not impossible to imagine a deal good enough that some of us would trade some independence for more profits. Our strong heritage of self-determination works right up until nobody buys what you're growing. It does not matter whether the reason makes sense to us or not. In fact, a personal incident this winter reinforces my wariness. One of the best large farmers I know told me, after glancing around, that his family was working toward organic production because the demand for it had made the economics a clear winner. And I'm not talking about a few acres here. So while we are ridiculing silly consumers and scoffing at hippie farmers, we'd best watch the business pages and keep an eye on the leaders of our profession.
Thanks, John. Well, a combination of challenges is creating a cotton crisis in the South. We'll dig into what it could mean for the future of cotton. That's next.
U.S. Farm Report is produced and distributed by Farm Journal Broadcast. From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is U.S. Farm Report.
Welcome back to U.S. Farm Report. We have much more ahead over the next 30 minutes. As cotton contention brews in the South, we'll show you firsthand the battle many farmers face. It's a song many of you know by heart. Andrew McCrea takes us to the birthplace of home on the range. And in customer support, John gets back to the basics with WOTUS. Now for the headlines, tightening balance sheets and increased global competition are putting farm co-ops under more pressure to merge. According to our reporting partners at AgWeb, co-op leaders say U.S. farmer-owned co-ops are feeling the pinch from falling farm incomes and more global competition. But it's also consolidation within the ag industry and a growing need for specialized talent that leaders say are pressuring more mergers to occur. A win for glyphosate supporters this week, with the Environmental Protection Agency declaring once again that glyphosate does not cause cancer. In EPA's ongoing registration review of the herbicide, the agency listing the product as not likely to be a carcinogen to humans. Now, while Monsanto says the classification is based on overwhelming weight of evidence on glyphosate, it may be too little too late. If you remember, in March of 2015, the International Agency for Research on Cancer, or IARC, deemed the herbicide as a probable carcinogen. Monsanto is gambling with its newest soybean product, commercializing Roundup Ready to Extend soybeans before all the proper approvals are in place. And now Cargill, Archer Daniels Midland, and Bunge say they won't accept it. Roundup Ready to Extend soybeans received U.S. approval, but it's waiting for the okay by the EU. Monsanto aimed to sell U.S. farmers 3 million acres of the new soybean seed, but the refusal by grain buyers could prevent those acres from going in. Monsanto said this week, since EU already approved Roundup Ready to yield and dicamba-tolerant soybeans separately, they fully expect approval of Roundup Ready to Extend. Animal health authorities are monitoring the Missouri poultry industry after a case of low pathogenic avian flu showed up in a commercial turkey flock. The discovery was made last week in Jasper County, Missouri, near the city of Joplin. Test results confirm it was the H5N1 strain, and while it is low path, such strains can mutate into highly pathogenic and more deadly strains. Then 39,000 turkeys were depopulated. As more than 100 companies vow to start sourcing eggs from cage-free environments, the National Association of Egg Farmers say the switch is based on misinformation. The groups say the idea of chickens roaming about doesn't lead to improved animal welfare or better quality eggs. The groups say since chickens are naturally aggressive animals, cage-free leads to more chickens dying. Bob Krause in Indiana has well over 1 million cage-free eggs today, and he agrees.
Feed conversion is significantly higher, 30% more feed to get the same dozen eggs. That's not changing. Double the mortality in the birds, which also raises your cost significantly. That's not changing. There are just some things that are inherent in the nature of a cage-free system that are more expensive.
Krause says the move to cage-free is political, not consumer-driven. All right, that's it for the news. Now let's check back in with Mike Hoffman for weather and a look at how the rest of May is shaping up. Mike?
Thanks, Ty. Now, obviously, we are into May, so that means it is going to slowly warm up no matter where you are across the country. But the overall weather pattern is still kind of a jumbled mess for now. I do think it settles down later in the month. But let's look at the jet stream. As of now, we've seen multiple cutoffs here and there, and it looks like we still have one there for the northern Great Lakes as we head into Wednesday. Another one lurking offshore, and that will be coming into the western portions of the country as we head toward next weekend. There's Friday, and on into the weekend we go, and you can see the cutoff a little farther north, though, than we've seen last time over the east, so that could change things a little bit. All right, 30-day outlook. Above normal temperatures. Most of New England, Great Lakes, Ohio Valley into the northern plains, all back across southern Canada into the Pacific Northwest. Below normal temperatures then for the Four Corner region, western Texas and Oklahoma. Precipitation over the next 30 days below normal. Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, eastern Canada, northeast, near normal in the southeast, and then above normal for most of the western plains into much of the Rocky Mountain states. Time?
Thanks, Mike. Well, farmers and ranchers across the country are feeling the pinch from weaker commodity prices. But for farmers in West Texas, it's more than just the price. Harsh weather, tough to control weeds, and a weaker safety net are also putting pressure on farmers, forcing some of them out of business. In this Farm Journal report, we take a look at the crisis in cotton country.
37 years I've been farming, I don't think I've ever seen things this much out of balance as far as the input cost versus what we're actually going to sell the crop for.
Driving down these West Texas roads, it's pretty easy to see why cotton is king.
We're sitting in a 3 million acre cotton patch.
West Texas farmer Walt Haygood still plans to grow cotton this year.
95% of what I work is dryland.
National Cotton Council says U.S. cotton farmers intend to plant 1 million more acres of cotton this year than they did in 2015.
It's certainly not necessarily the attractiveness of cotton prices, because cotton prices are lower than they were a year ago, but competing crop prices are also lower.
For farmers in West Texas, they have too much invested in growing such an input-intensive crop to just let land sit idle.
The risk that cotton is, there's still better opportunity that, with all of our equipment and all of our infrastructure and our climate, cotton is still the best crop that we can try to make it work.
Looking at the Intercontinental Exchange, cotton prices haven't traded above $1 since 2011. Today, prices are in the 60-cent range, and Haygood says depending on the operation, the average break-even point for producers is around 75 cents.
The thing is, most everybody has term debt, and so that 75 cents isn't going to work. It's going to need to be closer to 85, maybe even 90 cents.
Haygood says one way to beat the lower cotton prices this year is to out-yield it. And considering he hasn't seen rain since January, that looks like an unlikely scenario. But it's a situation cotton farmers continue to face.
Unless a producer had above average yields in 2015, it's been a very tough year.
For young producers like Clay Lyons,
I didn't start actually farming on my own until 2012.
Building up equity isn't an option right now.
The last 2 years, the cotton I've made has really just paid the bills and hasn't done much for me, in the long run.
Lyons says that's why he and other farmers in the area need a better safety net. Haygood is Lyons' mentor, allowing him to buy into his operation during this difficult time. And Haygood says farmers in this area are frustrated.
We just don't have a viable safety net that we once had, and our inputs are so high. It's so hard to pencil a profit.
Cotton farmers lost counter-cyclical payments in the last farm bill, and now they have what's called Stacked Income Protection Plan, or STACS.
It was, I guess, set to fail from the start because when the price came down, it's not viable for us. The cost of those premiums so outweigh any return we ever get. Plus, you have to have a disaster declared in the whole county.
That's why Haygood and others in the cotton industry are lobbying Congress and USDA for financial relief to deem cotton as an oilseed.
We have a co-product out here. It's not just lint, and a lot of that seed is used to feed dairy cattle.
That's one of the reasons why the council has been actively seeking some increased safety net for cotton producers by way of a cottonseed designation that would make it eligible as an other oilseed for the ARC and PLC programs.
It's a battle the industry is still fighting. While the Ag Department says it doesn't have the authority to make the oilseed designation, officials did recently announce short-term relief.
USDA has indicated a willingness to provide some assistance to cotton farmers through the way of a Jennings cost share proposal.
Adams says there are still a lot of unknowns with this program, but the council is working with USDA weekly to try to iron out all the details. While that program should provide some relief, Haygood says much more is needed.
The last 2 years running, we've seen 60 to 65% of those growers that had carryover debt. They were not able to pay out.
And Haygood says another year of battling low prices, high inputs, and a weak safety net will put more farmers out of business.
We're looking at a paradigm shift if we don't get some help. And in that, we could start losing infrastructure for cotton industry.
A brand new gin like this is going to take $10 million to replace. If we go out of business, there's no building this back.
While the long-term future of cotton is unclear, young farmers like Lyons hope the passion they're cultivating today can carry on for years to come.
If we can get some help to get through these rough times, and I sure would like to still be farming 10 years, 15, 20 years down the line.
Haygood says it's not simple to just find another crop to grow in his part of the world. He doesn't have enough water to grow corn, and the sugarcane aphid destroyed much of the area's sorghum last year. Well, up next, we'll hear from John Phipps.
Hi, Tom Parent here for DR Power Equipment. Is your driveway a bumpy road full of potholes, washboard, and ruts? Well, for lots of folks that live in the country, this is a normal ride. But it doesn't have to be this way. Not when you own a DR Power Grader, now available at a new low price. Tow the power grader behind your riding mower, utility tractor, or ATV. With each pass, the power grader loosens, redistributes, and levels surface materials. Potholes and ruts are filled in, washboard is smoothed out, and your resurfaced driveway is ready to roll.
Call 1-800-708-5320 for your free buyer's guide and DVD. You'll learn how you can own a DR power grader for as little as $799.99. Free shipping is now in effect, and with our 6-month at-home trial, your satisfaction is guaranteed. Call 1-800-708-5320. Online at drpowergrader.com.
Imagine a lawn vacuum powerful enough to clear the largest lawns, clean as a carpet, and compact enough to hang right on the wall. Hitching a cyclone rake to your riding mower gives you 10 times the lifting power and many times the debris capacity of mowers alone. It cuts overgrown summer lawns down to size in a fraction of the time. When autumn comes, clear the heaviest leaf cover with sitting down ease. Try the Cyclone Rake risk-free for a full year. To learn more, visit CycloneRake.com for your free information kit.
The IRS garnished my paycheck.
We owed the IRS $30,000.
The IRS will stop at nothing to collect the money you owe. They will levy your paycheck, seize your assets, and can even put you in jail.
We were afraid and didn't know what to do, so we called Tax Help Today, and they got us help.
My wage garnishment was lifted, and now I can pay my rent.
Call Tax Help today at 800-908-4885 for a free consultation. That number is 800-908-4885 for Tax Help.
As the battle over the EPA's Clean Water Act continues, John thinks it's time to revisit the topic. John?
Okay, today we're going to jump off the deep end and try to shed some light on the WOTUS controversy. Jim Hickson asks, can you help me understand the whole WOTUS movement is not anything but totally absurd? Jim, thanks for your question, and send me an address. This is a very complicated and controversial issue, so today I'll just try to establish some basic facts with an ag-splainer and then finish up next week. The term WOTUS stands for the Waters of the United States, which has become the common acronym for what is officially called the Clean Water Rule under the Clean Water Act. WOTUS became the popular choice, I think, because the ruling clarifies what bodies of water, like streams, are under the jurisdiction of the Clean Water ruling, which as a federal regulation applies to the waters of the United States. This misnaming is kind of like how the Affordable Care Act came to be referred to as Obamacare. To get good information, however, you'll get more and better results searching for the Cleaner Water ruling. This ruling was finalized last year, but enforcement has been suspended pending court action. Most observers, and I agree, think it will take a decision from the Supreme Court before it could go into effect in any way. Okay, most of this you might already know, but here are some less well-known facts. First, the ruling was requested by several groups, including agriculture, industry, and environmental organizations after some profoundly confusing decisions by the Supreme Court in 2001 and 2006. The ruling is about water and pollution, not land. While the term land grab is often used to describe the effect of the Clean Water ruling, this is inaccurate. Poland in 1939 was a land grab. The CWR is not. It does not take land from anyone, but it makes rules about what you can do to water that leaves your land. The other term you will hear is overreach. Now that one may be accurate, but that's what will be determined by the courts. Finally, it's important to keep in mind that if this rule is somehow denied, another ruling will have to be made since the courts have mandated a clarification and public groups, including ag, have petitioned for clearer regulations. As we'll see next week when we look at the arguments against the Clean Water Rule, this fact should not be overlooked.
Thanks, John. And remember, questions or comments can be sent to us via email or on Facebook or Twitter. Well, up next, it's one of the most popular Western songs of all times, but the history of where and how it was written is often untold. We're going home on the range next.
We have about 1,200 acres of soybeans, and we stick to about a third soybean rotation. This will be our third year of all Liberty Link soybeans. So the prior couple years before we started the Liberty Link, we really struggled with resistant kochia and just kind of starting in on the resistant water hemp. But the weed control was just great. What I really liked about it is you drive by 2 or 3 days later and you could already see it taking effect and burning the weeds down. I've been more than pleased with the yields. Since we've started on the Liberty beans, we've had our 2 best soybean crops, farm average we've ever had. So I don't see any yield drag with the Liberty beans. They run as well as I feel any of the Roundup or other systems do. We can quit putting all of our time and effort into just weed control and putting it back towards increasing our soybean yields.
We earn our living from the earth. We trust in our equipment to help us work harder, farm smarter, and add to our bottom line. From prepping, planting, and harvesting, to hauling, leveling, and more, Kubota's ag lineup was built for field and farm. We are Kubota. This is what we do.
Hey there folks, I'm Dr. Dan from Doc Talk. On behalf of myself and the staff at Drovers, I'd like to invite you to our Cow-Calf Cowboy College in West Des Moines, Iowa on June 20th and 21st. We're going to have speakers such as Mike Apley, Tom Knopfsinger, Chris Reinhardt, and Mr. Dave Nichols from Nichols Angus Farm. For registration, please visit droverscowboycollege.com or call us at 1-877-482-7203. I hope to see you all there.
It's one of America's most iconic Western songs. So this week, Andrew McCrea takes us home on the range to see what inspired such a lasting tune.
Here on the banks of West Beaver Creek, you'll find a small cabin that dates to the early 1870s. It was the home of Dr. Brewster Higley, a physician who came here to north central Kansas from Indiana to perhaps escape and enjoy the solitude of the prairie.
He homesteaded the site in 1871. And then the cabin was constructed and completed on July the 4th of 1872.
Dr. Higley lived alone in his cabin, taking care of medical ailments of patients who were brought to him. At night, neighbors would hear the strains of his fiddle drifting in the sultry summer air. He wrote poetry and enjoyed the nature around him. He would have perhaps lived in isolation and anonymity if it were not for a chance occurrence in this cabin.
The story is told True Brees from Smith Center brought an individual that had a gunshot wound. And apparently whether Dr. Higley opened the book or whatever, but this poem fell out. And True Brees says, this is dang good.
Higley's poem that fell out of that medical book was My Western Home. Neighbor True Brees thought it was so good it needed to be set to music. Local musician Dan Kelly put music to the words, and later the Harlan Brothers Band added a refrain. It became a popular song, but it wasn't until over 50 years later that events helped it become world famous.
But the real notoriety came about in 1934 when 2 things happened. One, Admiral Byrd was public that he played it at the South Pole, and then Franklin Delano Roosevelt as president, they played it on the lawn of the White House, and he called it his favorite song.
No sooner did the song become national news than a family in Arizona, the Goodwins, stepped forward to say they had penned it, not Dr. Brewster Higley back in the 1870s.
The Goodwins from Arizona sued NBC and said that's our song and wanted $500,000 of royalty money. This is in 34, big bucks. So they quit playing it, but hired an attorney, Samuel Monfelt.
The attorney researched the song and found that Higley did in fact originate the lyrics here in this small cabin. They were words inspired by this home, truly his home on the range.
E.T. talks about the creek and the flowing and all of that. It was just, what he was writing about, I think, was the sensations that he felt as he lived here.
Higley nor his family ever received money for the song. This cabin in which it was written was largely forgotten for many decades, but today it has been restored and open free of charge.
No matter where we may be from or where we live today, home is a special place. It's a feeling Dr. Higley captured in his poem written in this cabin in the 1870s. And it's a feeling still special in that song to many Americans today. Traveling the countryside near Smith Center, Kansas, I'm Andrew McCrea.
You can see more of American Countryside by visiting AmericanCountryside.com. When we come back, Tractor Tales and Country Church Salute.
Introducing the all-new DR Leaf and Lawn Vacuum, now at our lowest price ever. The DR cleans up acres of leaves and grass while you mow. In the spring, collect dead grass, wet leaves, and twigs from storm damage. Come summer, the DR makes a great high-capacity bagger, and in the fall, turns days of raking into a drive in the park. When it's time to unload, nothing could be easier. Look, just one hand. Plus, with the collector top removed, you've got a rugged utility cart that's great for all kinds of hauling chores. The DR is the most powerful, most versatile lawn machine you can buy.
Call 1-800-460-3185 for your free buyer's guide and DVD. Learn how you can own a DR for as low as $37 a month and get a 6-month product trial. Free shipping is now in effect, so call 1-800-460-3185. Online at drleafvac.com.
Leaky plastic sprayers shoot water everywhere, and power washers are bulky and a pain to set up. Introducing the Mighty Blaster Fireman's Nozzle, the first ever household sprayer with the power and precision of a real fireman's nozzle. Mighty Blaster has 50% more power, so you can blast away dirt, leaves, and twigs from sidewalks and driveways, even these large stones. Adjusting Mighty Blaster is simple, effortlessly from a fine mist all the way to the most powerful blast. And it's built to last, featuring aircraft-grade aluminum and quality stainless steel. A power washer can cost hundreds, but today get the Mighty Blaster Fireman's Nozzle for just $19.99. And we're not done yet. You can double your order. That's right, get 2 Mighty Blasters. You can also get a 25-foot Pocket Hose Ultra, the expanding hose that's now 3 times stronger. You can get it all for $19.99. Order now.
To order, call 1-800-580-0155. But hurry, call now and get the Mighty Blaster special offer with all of today's orders. So call 1-800-580-0155.
Welcome back to Tractor Tales. Well, we spent some time with Buddy Banks at his place in Bogalusa, Louisiana. He shared with us his collection of classic reds. Now, this 1954 Fall Mall Cub might be small, but it packed a powerful punch for the experienced gardeners.
The difference between the high crop and the standard version are basically the tire sizes. Instead of 12s on the standard, it's 15s on the front here. And the back, a standard Cub would have 24s, and this one's got 30s. They've made a wide version, but we don't have the wide version components on this tractor. Got a 1-point fast hitch, something a little different. It goes with our collection. Give you more clearance between your vegetables. They made a 4-row planter and cultivator setup for a Cub with the wide version. And you could plant and cultivate 4 rows instead of 1. And mainly, vegetables like carrots and onions and things like that. Just happened to be going down the road and looked over to the side, and there it was. And we were going to get a starter repaired, and on the way back, we stopped and made the deal with the man, and that's how it wound up here. Basically, it was a running tractor, and we put the fast hitch on it and cleaned it up and gave it a coat of paint and some decals. And the lever on the side by the fender is to nose the front down. If you were plowing with it and the front was too high, it wouldn't go in the ground, so you could lower that front down to where it would do a better job.
Thanks, Buddy. Well, before we go to our Church of the Week, we have a sad note to pass along. One of our loyal tractor collectors we've had the pleasure of sharing with you has passed away. Harold McTaggart from Port Hope, Michigan was an avid collector with no particular brand favorite. When we met him, he was the proud owner of more than 100 classic tractors. He was well known in his community and will surely be missed. We wish to thank Harold for his contributions to agriculture and keeping the spirit of antique tractors alive. Today's Country Church Salute goes to St. John the Baptist Catholic Church of Piopolis, Illinois. The congregation is celebrating 175 years this summer. The church that stands today was built in 1954 after a storm destroyed the previous structure. Our thanks to Shelley Allen for sharing their story. And as always, we want to learn about your home church as well. You can send those salutes to the address on the screen. Stay with us. Mike and I have viewer photos next.
Every successful grower knows that the best crops need strong roots, and that means they need Radiate Plant Growth Regulator. Radiate features 2 powerful active ingredients that help young crops quickly develop the longer, healthier roots they need for more nutrient uptake, early vigor, and stress resistance. Applied either foliar or in furrow, Radiate makes all the difference for a wide variety of crops. So get the roots your crops need by getting Radiate first. See your CPS dealer today.
Thanks for coming today.
How you doing?
Well, today's going to be pretty easy. I want each of you to grab a 2x8 and cut it. You'll have 2 saws to choose from, a power saw or a hand saw. So which saw did you use?
Power saw. Power saw.
Power saw. You all chose the most powerful tool. Wouldn't it make sense to make the same choice when it comes to your truck?
Absolutely.
This is the 2016 Chevy Silverado. It offers the most powerful engine in its class.
Awesome. I'd say it's the best tool for the job. Right on.
A picture's worth 1,000 words. And today, there are more pictures being taken than ever before. That's why there are 1,000 reasons you should get a hair restoration with Bosley. Imagine feeling self-confident in your photos and loving what you see when your picture is posted online.
With the social networking craze that we have going on, I'm always taking photos. And prior to that, I would never take a photo because I didn't like the way they looked.
Bosley, the world's most experienced hair restoration expert. The results are natural, permanent, and life-changing.
This is my real hair. I can do with it whatever I want. This is mine.
Call or go to Bosley.com to receive your free guide to hair restoration. Plus, when you call right now, we'll send you $250 off. But here's even more exciting news. Bosley now features a breakthrough procedure that makes hair restoration easier than ever before. It's a revolution in restoration. With Bosley, you can have your own hair back. Get the picture?
Welcome back. Well, thanks to your forecast, not a lot of planting progress to show this week.
Definitely not.
Wayne Martin Farms just west of Des Moines. He tells me that field work has been at a standstill since the second week of April, Mike. In just 2 weeks, they had anywhere from 6.5 to 8.5 inches of rain. And as you can see, there's standing water in terraces and field tiles just can't keep up. He says it's going to take a while to get those spots dried up and back in the field to plant.
Time for this next picture. We're heading to pretty far north. Rob Stone is in Saskatchewan, and the soil temperature for him today was only 10 degrees Celsius. He had the thermometer in Durham wheat stubble. I think will be a while before he'll be able to plant anything right now.
And it was also pretty cold in Nebraska. Mike Dwight Smith says they received 4 inches of wet snow last weekend. That picture's nasty. Near Chapel, Nebraska. Good moisture, but hard on the yard and trees is what he told us. And Mike, we've just kind of been in this wet weather pattern. There's a lot of our viewers that want to dry out so they can get into the field or get back in the field. Does it open up for us this coming week?
Unfortunately, we're still in that similar pattern. The ridge is helping to dry things out over the past 2 or 3 days across most of the middle of the country, but I'm afraid the system comes in from the west.
We want to see your crazy weather. You can send us those pictures anytime. For all of us at U.S. Farm Report, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to join us again right here next week as we work to build on our tradition. Have a great weekend, everyone. And to all you moms out there, have an enjoyable and hopefully a relaxing Mother's Day.
High-strength steel for high-strength dependability. Chevy Silverado, the official news-gathering vehicle of U.S. Farm Report. U.S. Farm Report is produced and distributed by Farm Journal Broadcast.